So this is the first video of my LS project, which I was going to do a Sloppy Mechanics. Big shout out to Matt Happel and all the work that he's done over the last several years. I've been following his stuff for at least the last three, and his work has inspired me to do a semi sloppy build. So this is a 4.8 liter LS motor, 862 heads. I'm going to leave them fairly untouched. I'm going to do just a slight amount of port work on them, not a whole heck of a lot. I mean, I'm doing a heck of a lot more than a typical sloppy build, but once I started pulling it apart and checking things, and I started cleaning, and then I pulled the cam out, and the middle cam bearing came out with the cam, so thankfully the block was okay, but right now I'm just checking everything out. The cylinders were awesome. 180,000 K, so about 10,000 miles, and there was a half a thou of wear in all the cylinders. One cylinder was almost a thou, but I mean, that's just insane. I got the I can't remember what brand it is. They're billet gears, and the drive gear has plus and minus 8 degrees you can go up to. So I've got a small comp cam. It's the that guy. It's a little old. It's been around for a while, but it's got decent lift, mild timing, and I'm gonna retard it 2 degrees just to get a little bit more top end out of the thing. I've been degreeing the cam and just checking the basics, like the crank run out and the cam run out. And this particular timing set has actually a Torrington bearing on the backside, so I'm reusing the cam like I'm reusing freaking everything, full on sloppy style. I'm reusing all the bearings. They were all awesome. I had to get new cam bearings though, because that one bearing number 3 came out when I was pulling the original cam out. It kind of freaked me out a little bit because I couldn't figure out what was going on. The journal looked a little small, and then I figured out, well, it was the actual bearing that came out with it, and the bearing was attached to the cam, but it didn't spin in the block, which it blew me away. I just couldn't believe that. So I'm going a little above and beyond a sloppy build. I am going to reuse all the pistons. I got new rings just because they happen to be on sale. I got a whole bunch of sale items off of Rock Auto. I just did a search. It's an 05 4.8 liter, so it's got the good rods, floating pistons, and I was going to reuse most of the gaskets. Those are the head gaskets. I'm going to use them I'm going to do a little bit of I was poking around on the internet, and I found a high-end LS build, mega dollar, blah 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 blah, and they mentioned they're pulling 2,000 horse out of a LSX block. I don't know if it was a Motown block or what it was, but the heads that they were using were just these gigantic extra bolt hole heads, and they did what's called chamber softening. So they went 100 thou inside the outside edge, and then they blended it to the inside and went to about here and gave it about a 5 to 7 degree taper. And then what that's supposed to do is slow down the flame front when you're really honking on it. And the plan for me is to go up to 20 pounds, I guess, maybe 22 pounds, I don't know, somewhere around there. I'm debating on whether or not I want to run a 3-bar map or a 2.5 bar map. I can get a 2.5 bar for a decent price, and I think I'm going to go MS3 Gold Box, and I'm thinking that it'll probably work out I won't know until I get the gold box, and I'll start figuring out whether I can run that or not. But I'm gonna round off a few edges. I'm not gonna go crazy in here. Maybe unshroud the valves just a tiny little bit. Nothing too crazy. I'd like to open up the chambers a bit more to lower the compression, but I've got LS9 head gaskets. Just a few things. Oh, this is the brand of the timing chain set. Oh yeah, Roller Master. It's an Iwis. I believe that's the, and it's from these guys out of Australia. And the chain is made in Germany. And contrary to popular belief, I mean, I know Matt, this is March 2nd, 2017, and Matt is just slapped his long block back together, his 6-liter, to try and do 1,000 horse pull. And he put a brand new timing chain on there because people were complaining about how loose his used timing chain was, and he put a brand new one on and it was still loose. So I don't know if that was his gears that maybe were a little bit worn out, but this timing chain is tight. Like, there's barely any movement. So I don't know if that's because this is an aftermarket timing set, or what the deal is, but I'm very happy with how tight the timing chain is, which you probably wouldn't want an aluminum block. This being cast iron, it's not going to grow as much, so I don't think it'll be as much of an issue. But yeah, so the ultimate build in the end, I'm not going to do the turbo setup just yet, but these are the LS9 gaskets. Got them off of Rock Auto. They were on sale. I mean, I normally wouldn't have been spending a whole buttload of money on stuff. I mean, here's valve cover gaskets and water pump gaskets, and they were like 60% off. I got this email from Rock Auto saying, "Hey, you got all this stuff that's on sale for your vehicle. Do you want it?" And I started looking at it all, and I'm like, wow, this is all stuff that I need. So I know it says wastegate 50 millimeter. These are probably way overkill for what it is that I want to do. And I probably should have had this stuff out of the boxes before I started filming, but I had a 60 millimeter. So this is a 50, and I had a 90 Skyline GTR with a fully built RB26 in it, with a an 88 millimeter massive turbo on it, and it had a 60 wastegate. So these guys are 50s, so I'm going to be running GT35s. That's those two boxes there. I don't have them out, and yeah, I'll create an avalanche if I try and bring them out. But so they've got the 62 or 63 housings on the backside. So I'm hoping 50 millimeter wastegates are going to be big enough that if the housings are a little bit on the small side, that these can vent more than enough exhaust gas for it not to create an issue and overspin the turbos. Because the compressors are huge. They're the eBay 61 millimeter GT35 knockoffs. And I took them apart, and I took the center sections to a local turbo shop in town. And the guy looked at them and he said, "Man, if you didn't tell me that these things were knockoffs, I would have figured that these were Journalberry GT35s, because they look like exactly like they're supposed to look." So if you look up GT35 turbo on eBay, the first one that'll pop up is probably the ones that I ended up with for $167 a piece. I got the wastegates for $50 off of eBay each, so $100. They were about $120 shipped to my door. The turbos, I got them shipped to Sumas, Washington, because I live in BC, up in Canada. So I had them shipped. I had everything shipped to Sumas, Washington, and I went across the border to go grab it. and so the shipping costs were much cheaper than it would have been. This is the not the intake manifold off of the 05 that I've got. This is off of an 02, I believe it was. So it's got the return fuel rails. I've got a spare throttle body, and probably I'm gonna, oh yeah, and here's Oldsmobile Alero twin fans, and I've got a, where is it? Oh, I've hidden it. Oh, it's up there. I've got, it's a double pass LS swap radiator from Northern. All of this is going into a G-body, so everything's all G-body oriented. And eventually, here's the 4L80E that I scored, fully rebuilt, ready to rock and roll, all brand new stuff in it, standard GM, with the base Transgo shift kit in it, but I'm going to upgrade it to the HD2 kit a little bit down the road when I finally get into the turbo setup. I scored this for $900. I couldn't believe it. I got a billet output. That was $100 off of eBay. That was part of the big shipment that I got. Like, I couldn't give that guy the $900 fast enough. Look at that brand new quote-unquote high stall factory torque converter, which I'm sure is not very high stall at all, but I think it'll probably be okay for the first year that I have it in the car. I picked up this full floater. You can see it's got the separate hub and big ass 5/8 wheel studs, 12-inch rear disc, full floater 9-inch for a G-body. I got that for $1,100 off of Craigslist. I couldn't give that guy the money fast enough. That's up here in Canada anyway. That's about $2,000 worth of diff I got for $1,100. So I mean that's a score and a half up here. And the cam, I just did the cam bearings and stuffed the cam in it, and everything seems to be okay. So yeah, we're just gonna go from there, and you can see the bores are all super scuffy. I did the 3-stone hone with a 320 grit fine hone, and I did one more over and above Sloppy Mechanics. Matt will be cringing. Why did you do it? Why? I chamfered the oil holes on the throws for the rods. I mean, I was cleaning the stinking thing anyway, and I was in there doing stuff, so I thought, well, what the hell, I'll throw a chamfer on it. I'm hoping eventually that when everything shakes out, somewhere around 7 to 750 at the tire is what I'm hoping in a G-body, 4-door granny wagon. So, this is it for now. This is the first video to get us started. There's my mess on the table here of all the friggin' crap I gotta clean up yet and screw back together. And as time goes on, I'll post more videos and point out a few little idiosyncrasies that doesn't seem to get mentioned in some other videos that I've found so far that I had to really search the information for because I couldn't find it anywhere. And we'll take it from there. So, again, big shout out, Matt Happel, Denma, on LS1 Tech, and the Sloppy Mechanics. I actually had my Skyline when I found his videos, and I come from an old school background building big block, small block Chevys, and back in the day I built about a 550 horse, somewhere around there, 454 and a 70 Chevelle, and I thought that was pretty badass, and that's nothing compared to what this is going to be. This is just going to be full retard, and I can't wait. Very good. See you later.